Hi, Duffan here. So how did my gaming career start? Well, I think I was around 4 years old, but I'm not really sure, but I do believe it was 4 years old. I asked my dad and he believed around 4 years old as well. And what was I playing? Well, I was playing on Windows 95 back then, because I didn't know anything about consoles whatsoever. I had seen like commercials on television about the Sega Dreamcast, but I just saw like a machine. I didn't know what it was. I didn't even know that it played games. So it was first at the age of 6 that I got to play a console. And the first console that I got to play was the PlayStation 2 at one of my friend's house. And I just loved it so much. The only problems I had with Windows 95 when I was playing games, basically, that it was the keyboard and mouse. I didn't like all the different buttons that you could press. There are too many buttons, basically. But I did have like a gamepad for the Windows 95. It was the Gravis gamepad. But if you see like the transition, I mean, from the Gravis gamepad to the DualShock 2, I mean, it's a huge step. I mean, the Gravis gamepad doesn't have analog sticks, it doesn't vibrate, it doesn't have triggers, no grips. I mean, it was made in 1992, for Windows computers and Macintosh as well. But the DualShock 2 was made in 2000. That's an 8-year leap in controllers for me. And, it's my favorite controller to this day, basically. And that's how I got into consoles, basically. I played a lot of consoles after that, and I played Xbox at my friend's house, and I played GameCube also at my different friend's house. It was kind of weird because if you know how the console sold, you'll know that the Xbox sold the most between GameCube and Xbox. Of course, the PlayStation 2 outsold them both, but yeah, the Xbox should have been more popular, but where I lived, the GameCube was actually more popular than the Xbox. And that's a bit strange to me, but I guess it's really cool, I got to try all the systems, except for the Sega Dreamcast. I didn't know anyone that had a Sega Dreamcast. It was only on commercials and stuff. Nobody I knew had one. Now, of course, I have one now, just to try it out. And I actually really like it. But, then the 7th generation came with consoles, PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii. Now, what did I want? Well, this generation was really weird to me, but it was awesome. It was really, really awesome. I mean, Generation 6, the console I wanted was the PlayStation 2. The console I liked the most was the PlayStation 2. The console I played the most was the PlayStation 2. But in this new generation, that was really, really weird, because the console I wanted was the Xbox 360, basically. It came out first, and I played it at a friend's house, and of course I was so into Halo, man. And when I played Halo 3 on Xbox 360 at my friend's house, I was like, yep, that's it. I need an Xbox 360, man. I asked my parents, but of course I didn't get an original Xbox when it came out. So I wouldn't get the Xbox 360 either, because my parents didn't like Microsoft, basically. And they said like, well, let's get a PlayStation 3. Your cousin has got a PlayStation 3. You can try it at his house. Now, if you don't know the story of the PlayStation 3, basically in the beginning, it costed 10,000 Swedish crowns at the time. And that's, ridiculous pricing. And it was, it was the most powerful one of the three, but yeah, it lacked a lot of titles in the beginning, so I'm glad I didn't get it. And it got the Z-axis controller, man, as well. Yeah, when I tried the console at my cousin's house, I was like, oh god, what is this? It was like a downgrade from the PlayStation 2, there was no good games out for it really, and the controller just sucked, man. You know, today we have the DualShock 3, right, for the PlayStation 3. It vibrates and stuff. It's a good controller, but the Z-axis controller doesn't vibrate, and it's even lighter than the DualShock 3, you know. So I was like, 10,000 Swedish crowns for this? No, no, no. I'm not getting it. I'm trying to convince my parents that I should get an Xbox 360 instead. But what did my parents do then? Well, they went like, okay, he doesn't want a PlayStation 3. He does want an Xbox 360, but we won't get a Microsoft product. So what will we do? Well, we get the third alternative, which is the Nintendo Wii. So in 2007 they bought me a Nintendo Wii. And I enjoyed the Nintendo Wii a lot. I mean, I love Pokemon and stuff, which is like weird. And I also really love Mario Galaxy. You know, that was probably one of my favorite games on that system. So I continued to go to my friend's house. We played Xbox 360, and sometimes I went over to my friend's house, my cousin's house and we played PlayStation 3. And I got to try out Killzone 2 for the PlayStation 3, and that was much better than the other games that I played. And I was like, oh, now it's getting better, you know. I mean, he was still using the Z-axis controller, so I was a little bit, you know, not so happy about that. But yeah, at one point, 2011, they had released previously a slim model for the PlayStation 3, and you know, it came with the DualShock 3, and they had reduced the price to 4,000 Swedish crowns, and I was like, yeah, sure, I will get it now. And yeah, I got it because they had released like awesome Ratchet & Clank games for the console. Now, I didn't know that if they were awesome or not, but you know, they were Ratchet & Clank games, so I picked them up. And yeah, I loved those games. I mean, Tools of Destruction was the first one, and I loved it. Quest for Booty, awesome. Crack in Time, arguably the best one on the PlayStation 3. It's fantastic. And then came All for One, which I didn't like really. It's not Ratchet & Clank. You don't travel to different planets. You're actually on the same planet all the time in the game. Kind of boring, actually. And then, of course, I got an Xbox 360 later. And yeah, you know, basically I convinced my parents and I bought it for my own money, basically. And you know, first game I picked up instantly, Halo 3. I had to get that game. It was awesome. I played, you know, co-op. I mean, it was like a new experience for me because I played Halo 1 and 2 on the PC, and of course you can't have a split screen on PC. So now I could play like Halo 3 with my friends, you know, cooperatively on the, you know, with the split screen. That was awesome. And then I picked up, you know, ODST. You know, a lot of people don't like ODST. I love ODST, but yeah, it's not the best one in my opinion, but it's good. And then I picked up Halo Reach. Halo Reach. It is so freaking good. I can't even explain. I mean, if I were to tell you that one game of this generation was so freaking good, probably my best and favorite game, perhaps that would be Halo Reach, actually. It has everything, man, everything. And I think it gets the closest to the original one, even closer than the second game. Because, you know, you have a health bar, you have different, like, awesome locations, and of course, you do have, like, the same guy making this music, and it is awesome, so good. And yeah, then basically at the point of like 2011, 2012, this is where things got out of control, I believe. Because, like I said, Ratchet & Clank All for One, not my favorite Ratchet & Clank. It's the one I hate, basically. I mean, it's not a bad game, but it's not a Ratchet & Clank game. That's what I'm saying. It's a good party game, but it's not a Ratchet & Clank game. And then you got Full Frontal Assault the year after that, and you know, it was better in my opinion, but as a game it was worse, but it was closer to Ratchet & Clank. But yeah, I didn't like where the series was going, but thankfully they like saved it with into the Nexus and, you know, the new remaster for PlayStation 4, but still those games aren't like perfect games. I mean, they are short. They're very, very short games. I mean, they don't charge you for as much money, but they're really short games, you know. And then Halo. You know, Halo and Ratchet and Clank and Pokemon, those are my 3 favorite series of all time. Halo, what happened to Halo? Well, Bungie didn't get to do Halo anymore because their contract had been like broken or something, and that means someone new had to do Halo, and yeah, let's just say they didn't do it. They didn't make the series as good as Bungie did. Halo 4 is not a Halo in my opinion. It's not Halo because it lacks so many different elements. I don't even know what to say. An Xbox One, you know, I haven't got an Xbox One. Why haven't I got an Xbox One? Well, Halo 5 doesn't have split screen. It's not a Halo game in my opinion. Halo 4 is not a Halo game. And the Master Chief Collection was full of bugs and stuff, so no, I'm not touching that, you know. And then the Wii U, you know, I mean, I don't like the, like, what should you say? Like, yeah, I don't like the controller and stuff, and they're like all of the games I want, you know, Pokemon and stuff. It's not out there, you know. I like games like Battle Revolution. I like games like Gale of Darkness. I like games like Pokemon Colosseum. You know, those games. You have no game like that on the Wii U. You don't have a Mario Galaxy. You don't have Metroid games. You don't have a lot of stuff that should be on the Wii U, in my opinion. So the only game that would be on the Wii U that I want, that would be like Mario Kart, and you know, I already have a bunch of Mario Kart, so you know, it's not something that I will get, really. So I'm really concerned about this new console generation in general, because you know, a lot of my favorite games on PlayStation 4 are actually games that I won't be able to play in the future when the servers go down. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV, hands down one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 4. Sadly, in the future, servers will go down and you can't play the game. So, yeah, I want to see where this is going, and yeah, hopefully this console generation won't die out as fast as we might have to see. Thanks guys, see you later.